Tonight, Vince McMahon facing new accusations of sexual assault and trafficking.
I don't think he can survive this. It's too much.
How the former face of wrestling is responding in the same week as a massive new deal with Netflix. And an accused human smuggler wanted in India, living in Canada.
Did you drive them to the border, sir? Did you leave them out there to die?
The CBC News exclusive on the state of the investigation. Plus, a challenge to the Prime Minister's leadership.
At least give people the opportunity to have their say.
That is quickly walked back. Rosie and At Issue break down the perceived crack within the Liberal government.
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news tonight. CBC News has learned Kenneth Law will now face a charge of first-degree murder. He's the Ontario man charged with allegedly operating websites that sold a potentially lethal substance to people at risk of self-harm. Thomas Degla has been on this story since the very beginning. So, Thomas, what have you learned about this upgraded charge?
We have confirmed tonight that at least one of the charges that Kenneth Law is facing will be upgraded. Already, he's charged with 14 counts of second-degree murder and 14 counts of counseling or aiding suicide in connection with deaths across Ontario. What's not clear now is how many of those murder charges will be upgraded to first-degree murder and whether it'll be all of them, and when now Law will appear in court once again. He has been in custody since last May when he was first arrested at his home near Toronto. Police said he was selling a toxic substance online and other suicide paraphernalia to clients at risk of self-harm all around the world. Investigators say he sent some 1,200 packages to more than 40 countries. And according to our own tally at CBC News, Law is suspected of being linked to 124 deaths in Canada, the U.S., Britain, Italy, Ireland, New Zealand, and elsewhere. He is so far only facing charges in Ontario, Adrian, and the news that we are breaking tonight that he will be charged with first-degree murder signals another significant escalation in the way authorities here are approaching this case.
And Thomas, is there any indication as to why this happened right now?
Peel Regional Police told me tonight they don't have any information to provide, but the last time that his charges were upgraded, police simply said that the evidence led them to lay murder charges. According to the criminal code, a first-degree murder is a homicide that's both planned and deliberate and can include a contract killing when a person is paid to take someone's life. Adrian.
All right, Thomas, thank you.
You're welcome.
The founder and former CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment is facing new accusations of sexual assault and trafficking tonight. Vince McMahon was named in a lawsuit filed by a former employee. That revelation coming in the same week WWE's parent company signed a massive new deal to broadcast its main weekly show on Netflix. McMahon has long been the face of WWE, taking the company from small regional shows to selling out stadiums, including here in Canada. As Sarah Levitt explains, this is not the first time he has faced serious accusations.
Count Ivar out there.
He made wrestling mainstream. Now Vince McMahon is facing new allegations of sexual assault and trafficking.
Vince has been a guy who's been mired in controversy for much of, like I'd say, for on and off for the last 35 years. But this is, by far the worst.
The accusations by former employee Janelle Grant against McMahon and another former WWE executive are detailed and explicit. Some so graphic we've chosen not to share them. Among those we can, McMahon began sharing sexually explicit photographs and videos of Ms. Grant, including pornographic content he recorded with other men. And McMahon recruited individuals to have sexual relations with Ms. Grant. A spokesperson for McMahon told U.S. news outlets the lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth. He will vigorously defend himself. Dave Meltzer has been covering wrestling for 52 years.
I've said before, I don't think he can survive this and been wrong. But this one, I don't think he can survive this because it's too much. on the heels of everything else that's come out.
That everything else involves multiple allegations of sexual assault and harassment. In 2022, it was revealed McMahon had settled claims between 2006 and 2022 for $15 million. Soon after, he voluntarily stepped down as WWE CEO, then retired at 77 years old, citing his age. 6 months later, he was back, eventually selling the WWE to TKO Group, and later was named to the company's board. Tuesday, TKO signed a massive deal with Netflix. The multi-billion-dollar agreement makes the streaming giant the home of WWE Raw, the company's flagship show. Grant's lawyers state she hopes this lawsuit will prevent further women from being victimized. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Investigators have begun the process of combing through the wreckage of a deadly plane crash in the Northwest Territories. So this is the site near Fort Smith. The Transportation Safety Board says shortly after takeoff on Tuesday, the aircraft crashed just past the runway. A fire then broke out, destroying the fuselage. 6 people were killed, 1 sustained serious injuries. An investigation into the cause is ongoing. And last night, the community of Fort Smith gathered to remember the victims and offer support to the survivor and first responders. A decision on whether to grant bail to the man charged in the Edmonton City Hall shooting has been pushed back. This as we hear from those who say they knew the accused. Julia Wong now on their reaction.
In this quiet apartment complex, neighbors of a man accused of opening fire at Edmonton City Hall trying to process the act of violence.
Basically, my interaction with him was just hellos. It seemed very normal. There was no weird activity.
Tuesday morning, police say Bazani Sarvar lit several devices they believe to be Molotov cocktails inside City Hall and fired multiple rounds at random from a long gun. The building placed on lockdown, causing terrifying moments for those stuck inside, including a class of grade 1 students. Police say the suspect dropped his weapon and surrendered to a security guard. The 28-year-old, also a security guard, is charged with 6 explosives and firearm offenses. In a wide-ranging, sometimes sporadic 4-minute video posted by the social media account YEG Wave circulating online, Sarvar details a long list of grievances with society, saying he wants to make the world better. It is not clear where or when the video was recorded.
Does that video align with the man that you know?
No. In all of the way, no. As I've mentioned earlier, not in a million years. This is just out of the blue.
Emmanuel Cruz lives beside Sarvar and says they spoke often. He and other neighbors say Sarvar is married with kids.
All I can say is really good guy. Like sample every time I went out, and we saw each other, he just always asked, how's the kid, how's the family.
Did you ever see him with a gun, or did he ever talk about a gun?
No, not at all. I know, again, he's a security guard, but other than that's all I know from him. But I've never seen him with a gun, not get violent at all.
Sarvar made a very brief court appearance Thursday through video conference. He wore an orange jumpsuit, showed little facial expression, and did not make any comments. His bail hearing was postponed to next Friday. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
To a CBC News exclusive now, the Fifth Estate has tracked down a man in Ontario that Indian authorities say is connected to a human smuggling case. The incident resulted in the death of a family of 4 along the Canada-U.S. border. Stephen D'Souza has his response to those allegations and the questions about the RCMP investigation.
We're just in traffic right now. I'm like 2 or 3 cars behind him.
Okay.
For months, we've been searching for a man wanted by Indian police for human smuggling.
That's him.
That's him.
Yeah.
Where is he? He's going to pick up the
green bin.
This is Fennel Patel. Indian police allege that 2 years ago, he was part of the smuggling network that brought the Patel family to a remote spot on the Canada-U.S. border. Then Indian police allege Patel and another man sent the family into a snowstorm where the temperature plunged to -35. Without adequate clothing, just a phone and an app to guide them.
Well, 5 feet into Canada, there was 3 of them. I didn't see the instant.
Oh! Their bodies were found frozen to death the next morning.
Canada border thi America
In January 2023, police arrested 3 men in India and named Fennel Patel in Canada wanted for culpable homicide and human trafficking. Using property, corporate and other records, the Fifth Estate found him living just outside Toronto.
Indian police are accusing you of driving the Indian family, the Patel family, to the border. Did you drive them to the border, sir? Did you leave them out there to die? Did you drive them to the cold and leave them behind, sir?
So why is an accused human smuggler apparently living freely?
The RCMP may not have the actual minimum that they need to actually go ahead and charge this individual. The Indian authorities may still be collecting information and don't have enough to actually put forward an extradition request.
But this immigration lawyer says Indian police appear to have enough evidence for the RCMP to at least question or even arrest Fennel Patel.
The RCMP doesn't need the assistance of the Indian government for a crime that was committed on Canadian soil.
So why haven't they done it?
That's the million-dollar question. What are they waiting for?
Stephen, can you walk us through how your team was able to confirm that you had tracked down the suspect?
We've been working on this investigation for more than a year, and we used sources in India, Indian police reports, even a witness statement, and then we took that information and cross-referenced it with public records here in Canada. All of it pointed to that address and the individual you just saw. And then we also took our information back to Indian police, and they confirmed that the person we had found is the same person they were looking for.
Okay, so I understand that the RCMP are not talking about this, but what could happen next year?
There is a question about whether India has asked to extradite Fennel Patel. There was a report last year, and we asked the Department of Justice, and they said that extradition requests are confidential state-to-state communications. We won't find out until a suspect appears in court, which hasn't happened in this case. And in the past, Adrian, that could take years to play out.
All right, Stephen D'Souza, thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
The Fifth Estate airs Friday night at 9 p.m., 9:30 in Newfoundland on CBC Television and on GEM, or you can stream it on YouTube at 1 p.m. Eastern. A high-ranking member of the Roman Catholic Church in Canada is facing allegations of sexual assault. Gerald Lacroix is the Archbishop of Quebec City. He's one of 15 people named in a class action lawsuit against the Archdiocese of Quebec. The alleged incidents linked to Lacroix happened in the late 80s. The plaintiff was 17. In New York, closing arguments in Donald Trump's defamation trial will begin tomorrow. Today, he briefly took the stand. And as Katie Simpson shows us, that came just after unleashing an extreme new campaign strategy on his biggest rival for the Republican nomination.
Waving to supporters as if it's an election campaign stop, Donald Trump headed to court for what became a day of frustrations. The judge warning Trump repeatedly to be quiet before briefly testifying. He confirmed he stands by his previous deposition in the E. Jean Carroll defamation case, where he denied sexual assault allegations, calling them a hoax, and referred to her as a whack job. As Trump left court, he loudly declared, "This is not America." Trump's legal problems are not hurting his re-election bid, instead energizing his supporters.
They're all trumped up charges. They're just trying to keep him away from running. My resolve and my convictions for the president have only strengthened with time, considering everything that the guy has been through with the weaponized justice system.
Trump's intensifying efforts to clinch the Republican presidential nomination with a new hardline attack on the last challenger standing, Nikki Haley.
Bring it, Donald. Show me what you got.
He called Haley a bird brain, threatening her campaign donors, writing on social media, "Anybody that makes a contribution to bird brain from this moment forth will be permanently barred from the MAGA camp." Trump aims to scare Haley donors who depend on having a good relationship with the White House. He's also targeting lawmakers, demanding Republicans kill a possible deal with Democrats to improve U.S. border security so he can use the crisis in political attacks against Joe Biden.
The idea that someone running for president would say, "Please hurt the country so I can blame my opponent and help my politics," is a shocking development.
Establishment Republicans appear ready to back Trump. The party's national committee may declare him the presumptive presidential nominee, citing his big early wins. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Turning to the Middle East now, the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says 20 people were killed in an attack on a food line. Israel says it is investigating the incident as more calls for a ceasefire come from the World Health Organization.
Struggling to speak because
as he called for a solution to the war in Gaza, the head of the World Health Organization seemed on the edge of tears.
Because the situation is beyond words.
In Gaza's north, video captured people scrambling for cover, fleeing sprays of gunfire at an aid distribution site.
The situation in the north is absolutely horrific. There's almost no food available, and everybody we talk to begs for food.
Zones of dangerous on-the-ground fighting blanket Gaza, with Israel's forces continuing to slowly push deeper and especially fierce combat in the southern city of Khan Yunis, sending tens of thousands running for their lives. This evacuee says she was sheltering in a school. When my sister came to the classroom, she says a sniper shot her in her heart. When she walked in, they shot her here. She then fell in my mother's lap. The Hamas-run health ministry says 50 people were killed in Khan Yunis alone over the past day. Nearly 26,000 dead in Gaza now since the war began. Tomorrow, the International Court of Justice in The Hague is issuing an interim ruling on a case brought by South Africa, which alleges Israel's actions in Gaza amount to genocide. For more on the stakes, Chris Brown joins us from Jerusalem. So, Chris, this ruling tomorrow isn't really on the case itself. It's more, as I understand it, about how to proceed.
That's right. The judges are not going to rule on whether Israel has committed genocide or is committing genocide. This is about whether there is enough evidence to move forward and whether emergency measures requested by South Africa are imposed in the meantime. Israel, it says this case is baseless. It says it is threatened with genocide, not the other way around. But South Africa's lawyers have argued that enormous civilian casualties, massive displacement in Gaza are all part of a deliberate Israeli effort to destroy the Palestinian people there. And crucially, they've backed that up with what they say are genocidal statements from Israeli cabinet ministers, some of whom have used words such as animals or monsters to describe who they're fighting. Israel's government says those were just words, and it even declassified cabinet meeting documents to try to show that they took measures to protect Palestinian civilians.
So, Chris, this ruling could include an order for Israel to suspend military operations in Gaza.
It could. That's one of 9 provisional measures South Africa has requested. But remember, even if it is granted, the ICJ has no way to actually enforce that order, so Israel could just ignore it. The order could then get referred to the UN Security Council, and that would put the U.S. in particular in a very difficult position about whether it would veto a legally binding decision from the UN's top court. Many legal analysts believe more likely is a lesser order, perhaps something along humanitarian lines. A dismissal could possibly be viewed by the Israeli government as validation, whereas a court order would essentially vindicate South Africa and increase the pressure not just on Israel, but also on key countries that support it, especially the United States. Adrian.
All right, Chris Brown in Jerusalem tonight. Thank you. The ruling is expected to come down at 7 a.m. Eastern. You can watch it as it happens on Morning Live with Heather Hiscox. That will be followed by extensive coverage and analysis all day on CBC News Network. New guidance from pediatricians says kids should get outside and take some risks.
They're going to get some bumps and scrapes and scratches along the way.
Why climbing a tree could be good for their health. The cost to charge your car can double from one place to another.
$3.75 a minute.
But will government step in to fix that? CBC Marketplace investigates. And a battle royale caught underwater.
This is pretty rare and very exciting to watch.
We're back in 2. Well, that dramatic video comes out of Sudbury, Ontario, capturing an explosion and partial building collapse. Crews were fighting an apartment fire Wednesday night when a blast sent parts of the structure just flying. 3 volunteer firefighters suffered minor injuries. All 5 residents made it out unharmed. The cause of the fire is now under investigation. There's new guidance tonight recommending you let your kids take some risks, including some that could result in minor injuries. Christine Birak now on what's behind the change in thinking.
When kids play tag on ice,
They're going to get hurt. They're going to get some bumps and scrapes and scratches along the way, but they grow and they learn.
the Canadian Pediatric Society agrees, saying to counter rising obesity, anxiety, and behavioral issues, kids need to get outside and do things that might leave a bruise.
There is a balance between allowing kids to get out there, be autonomous, try new things, challenge themselves, and we know that there will be a risk of injury.
The Canadian Pediatric Society is now encouraging things like playing at heights, climbing trees and ropes or jumping, fast play, sliding down hills, biking and running, or play involving sharp tools with supervision. The list even includes play fighting and just letting kids explore the world. But there are limits.
Well, this isn't about letting a child run into a busy street or play unsupervised near rough water. Those are hazards.
She notes risky play does not mean ignoring evidence-based safety measures either, like bike helmets and life jackets. Still, some parents and grandparents will say it's just not safe out there.
And that's a common perception that the world is less safe than it was when we were kids. But in fact, if you look at the injury statistics, it's actually never been a safer time to be a child than it is right now.
Experts say parents can also reframe how they talk to kids about risk. Instead of repeating, "be careful," which can raise fears, ask kids if they feel comfortable or what's your plan.
And we're finding new research that's even more exciting around the mental health benefits of risky play, building self-confidence and resilience, and also managing of symptoms of anxiety.
This isn't a move away from safety, experts say, but a shift towards keeping kids as safe as necessary. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
If you're looking for the best price to charge your electric vehicle, that may prove tricky.
Did you hear it click?
CBC Marketplace compares prices and finds some big differences. But first, Rosie's here with that issue. There she is.
Hey, Adrian. Tonight, the fallout after a federal judge ruled invoking the Emergencies Act to shut down those convoy protests was unreasonable and violated charter rights.
We do not agree with this decision, and respectfully, we will be appealing it.
But does the ruling mean the legislation should be updated? Chantal, Althea, and Andrew join me to talk about that and more.
More layoffs in the tech sector to tell you about. Microsoft is cutting 1,900 jobs at Activision Blizzard and Xbox. That's about 8% of the company's gaming division. And Netflix Canada is ditching its cheapest ad-free streaming plan. Subscribers who now pay $9.99 a month will soon have to dish out $16.49 to avoid commercials. Those willing to sit through ads can opt to pay $5.99 per month. Netflix says the change could happen as early as April. The cost to charge your electric vehicle, on the other hand, is not as clear. CBC's Marketplace hit up charging stations and discovered you could be shelling out double the money depending on where you go. And finding the best deal is not so easy. Will that change? Chelsea Agro put that question to the government.
Plugging in.
Did you hear it click?
To fuel up. It's a common practice for a growing number of Canadians, but at what cost?
$3.75 a minute.
Pricing is all over the map when it comes to Canada's public charging infrastructure. Some bill by the minute, others the hour. And the energy output of each machine can differ too.
With gasoline, we have very transparent pricing because it's a large number that you can see as you're driving by. And so ideally, you would have something like that.
Marketplace found consumers can be paying twice as much for the same charge after a kilowatt-hour comparison at fast chargers revealed prices ranging from 25 cents to 50 cents per kilowatt-hour.
But the fact that different systems are being used across the country does make it more difficult for consumers to be able to compare. I think it is possible. We will end up agreeing that we should all use the same system across the country.
Kilowatt-hour pricing is the charging equivalent of by the liter for gas-powered cars. But less than 25% of Canada's public chargers currently bill that way. After bringing that to the attention of the Environment Minister, that may change.
Can we impose this on provinces and territories? I don't think so, but we can work with them to try and ensure that we have the most efficient system in terms of tariffication across the country.
When we asked the providers about the range in prices we found, ChargePoint told us independent owners set their prices. Flow says it's often the same for their stations too. Petro-Canada says they provide competitive pricing. Ivy adds they're one of the first to adopt kilowatt-hour pricing. Most EV owners are still charging up at home, where prices are often less. But demand for public charging is expected to rise as more EVs hit the road. Charles Ciagro, CBC News, Toronto.
And you can catch Marketplace tomorrow at 8 p.m., 8:30 in Newfoundland on CBC Gem and CBC Television. So now let's break down the news shaping our world. Rosie's here with At Issue.
At issue this week, Ottawa's use of the Emergencies Act, an unprecedented response to shut down the convoy protests in the nation's capital and elsewhere. But now a federal judge says the government's use of the act was unreasonable and infringed on protesters' charter rights.
The use of emergency powers are important in a national emergency, but they're dangerous, and they take away accountability and protection for ordinary people.
Speaking to CBC Radio's The House, the former Minister of Justice disagrees with the court's decision.
This was an occupation. It wasn't a protest. Characterizing this merely as protest is missing the very damaging impact that these occupations had on other Canadians and their fundamental rights, their charter rights.
The federal government says it will appeal this decision, but what does it tell us about the limitations of the Emergency Act? Hi there, I'm Rosemary Barton, here to break it down this week. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. Good to see everyone again. Chantal, I'll maybe start with you on this one. Did this come as a surprise to you that a federal court judge found different things than what Justice Rouleau found at the commission?
Not necessarily. Justice Rouleau himself, when he reached this conclusion that the threshold for using the act had been met, had mentioned that he felt that he was on an infrastructure of facts that was maybe fragile. And interestingly, the federal court justice also pointed out how fragile his own infrastructure was. It was a really different decision to read from many of the decisions I've read over the years, in the sense that at some point, Justice Mosley says, if I'd been sitting at the cabinet table at that point, I probably or possibly would have gone the way that the federal government went, but my job is to read the law, and I feel it was unreasonable. So I thought it was interesting too, people from the law coming to different conclusions. Yeah. Basically means that it's not easy to find the sweet spot where you can use the emergency law, and I think that's good.
Yeah, and how much do you think that reflects, Andrew, on the fact that it was created back in 1988, if my memory serves me, and it hadn't been used before? So they were testing out a lot of what was there.
Absolutely. It was the first time the law had been invoked and the first time anybody's ruled on it in a court of law. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty until this is finally resolved at the Supreme Court level. I see a lot of people jumping up and down and being very excited at this court ruling. Among them people who would normally be crying about the courts as agents of the deep state or unelected judges running roughshod over the will of Parliament, but just give them a ruling they like, and it's centuries of English law, and they get very, very misty-eyed about it. It's a very strange ruling in a lot of ways. The judge at several times says, on a common sense definition of the term national emergency, public order emergency, the government would probably be on safe grounds, but on the very narrow and technical grounds of the CSIS Act, which was imported into the Emergencies Act, it doesn't pass muster on that. Well, no kidding, because CSIS has powers and does things that go way beyond anything contemplated under the Emergencies Act. So yeah, there's going to be a very high bar. So I think it is worth revisiting whether in fact it was proper or reasonable to use the CSIS definition, and it's still unclear to me whether the judge was right in his application of it. But look, the test on this is not correctness. The test is reasonableness. Was the government reasonable to make the call it made, given the information it had at the time? That's where the judge's finding is sort of at odds with that statement that Chantal referred to towards the end of his ruling, where he says, I probably would have done what the government did, and the only reason I'm differing with them now is in hindsight with information I have now. I suspect that's going to come up at appeal.
Yeah, I would imagine the government might agree if they had the same amount of hindsight as well. Althea, do you think that this will lead to changes in the legislation?
A few things. I'm not sure that my reading of the judgment is the same as Andrew's. I think Justice Mosley basically is begging, that's how it reads, the federal government to amend the law because he says, as Andrew points out, that the threat for the security of Canada, that is defined by the Emergencies Act, and if it wasn't, then he would not have found that the government erred in applying the law. And so he's basically begging the Liberal government to introduce changes to this law on several fronts, but that being the primary one. And it is interesting because I suspect the Conservatives are going to say, you know, this is outrageous, the government is acting like a totalitarian state and they're just trying to weaken the law so they can apply it more broadly. And so instead of having a conversation about do we have the legislation we need to have to respond to the threats that we're facing and that we're going to face in the future, we may not have that unless the NDP and the Bloc Québécois is willing to kind of give a little bit of their political capital to the government to fix this problem. With regards to what's actually in the judgment, I thought it was pretty balanced. It's been phrased as a way of like a real defeat against the government, but that's not my reading of it. And I wonder if on some of the several points where Justice Mosley actually finds that the government acted appropriately, that at the Court of Appeal they might actually, you know, they might not get the decision that they want. Right. That being said, I don't think they have a choice. Politically, they do have to appeal. I think practically they have to appeal as well because one of the primary findings of fact is that when it came to the freezing of bank accounts, that constituted an improper seizure, and so you could potentially have, you know, tens of dozens of people who come, well, not tens of dozens, but dozens of people who come and try to sue the government over that very measure because the judge in this case found that the government had overreached.
David Lametti, who I should point out was the Justice Minister at the time and actually resigned, will be resigning as of January 31st. He announced that today. He is also a constitutional lawyer and he thought that the ruling was very flawed. Obviously, he has a political perspective now beyond just being a lawyer. But Chantal.
I think the public interest is well served by the appeals. We do need a definitive legal read on this. I'm not convinced that lowering the threshold for using what is a very powerful law is necessarily the way to go, or a reason for any of the parties that are not the Liberal government and the House of Commons to say, yeah, let's make it easier to use this law. It should be hard to use.
Sure, yeah.
That's the bottom line. And I'm not sure that the Liberals want to get into that fight or that they will find allies for this. Yeah. But I am, I think it's healthy that this debate will be taking place. I'm not disturbed at all by the contradictions. Both Justice Trudeau and Justice Mosley did want to get the Emergencies Act out of the, or did suggest it should be taken out. I'm also curious as to see whether there's a political price for the Liberals to pay on for this, because I've been looking back at the War Measures Act and the way it was used in the 70s. This all starts there. And I don't see that Pierre Trudeau paid a price for using it, including the abuse that came with it, neither in the rest of Canada nor in Quebec.
Andrew, last minute to you here.
And let's remember that the Emergencies Act is a much more moderate measure than the War Measures Act, and the measures that were invoked here were much more moderate than anything was done under the War Measures Act. Nobody was, rounded up without trial, et cetera. I think just on the point that Althea made about, I think that the part of it that's going to most likely to withstand appeal is the business about the freezing of the bank accounts, not because it was some flaming injustice in itself, but the thing that the judge emphasized, and I think rightly so, was the police were basically making it up as they went along. They didn't have any clear set of guidelines or rules, again, because this was the first time it had ever been invoked, doesn't excuse it, but the definitions as to who exactly this would apply and on what grounds was not clear, and they were sort of feeling their way. They made judgment calls. That's not sufficient with something like that. You need more clear guidelines, and if that comes out of this, that will be all to the good.
Okay, we're going to take a short break here. Althea, you can start us off on the next round, where we are going to talk about the Liberal caucus that started today and runs in tomorrow, and at least one Liberal MP who went from suggesting the Prime Minister should go to saying, I maybe misspoke. Can Justin Trudeau rally his troops? That's next on The National. A Liberal MP suggesting it might be time for Justin Trudeau to go is not the ideal way to start a caucus meeting.
If people are still intent on having the leader we have now, fine. But at least give people the opportunity to have their say.
Ken MacDonald quickly changed his tune, saying he supports the Prime Minister and he's a great campaigner. But poll numbers remain dismal, forcing the PM to try to rally the troops at caucus today.
We've gotten a lot of big things done over these past years, and we're eager to do even more.
So should Trudeau be concerned about the comments from one MP, and can he keep caucus on side? Let's bring everybody back. Chantal, Andrew, and Althea. Althea, as promised, I'll start with you. Obviously, this is one MP who said some things, then said, oh, maybe I didn't mean those things. We do know that there are other people talking quietly, but is this a noticeable crack or problem for the Prime Minister?
Well, I don't get the sense that it's as acute as it was in late August when we spoke about this, when actually I spoke to Ken MacDonald. It's easy to have those thoughts when you're in your riding and that's all you've heard for the past 7 weeks from constituents who really dislike the Prime Minister. It would have been more honest for him to say, well, I realized that I put my colleagues in a bit of a pickle and I'm really sorry. And I probably shouldn't have done that, as opposed to saying, I suddenly decided that actually we do not need a leadership review. But, you know, I am one who believes that we want MPs to speak frankly. And so I'm not willing to be that critical of MPs who do, even though I know it puts their colleagues in a bad place. Can I please squeeze in on the Emergencies Act? That one of the things that was really key in this judgment is the judge said it was too broad, but it was too broad because Ontario did not do its job. And so I feel like that cannot be excluded from the conversation.
Okay, no, you're hijacking this part of the panel. I've got to go to Chantal now. I've got to go to Chantal. Chantal, on the issue of caucus, because I think the last time we talked about it, you did say he's got about 2 or 3 months here, and then time's kind of up, where he has to decide if he's staying or he's going. It seems that he's staying, and it doesn't really matter what people like Ken MacDonald are saying.
Well, he's got two advantages to his side. The first one is the one you mentioned, and at this time, it is getting very late in the game, especially if you have a leader who doesn't want to go. And we did not see, we saw the contrary, the opposite of a mass movement being led by Ken MacDonald.
Yes.
But I understand that when you are sitting in your riding and you're hearing all this, Trudeau is not the person I hoped, etc., that you could come to that conclusion. But if you are doing the extra step, you're not finding the person who will save you. Coming to your brain and having you do, I'm going to make sure that we get this other person. And I think that saves Justin Trudeau. There is no evidence that any of the names that we've heard as possible successors would do better and not worse than he has or would be doing.
Yeah, and there's no one really, well, there's certainly no one trying to oust him in an active way that I know of anyway, Andrew.
And no way to do it. Look, there's nothing wrong with an MP speaking his mind. I'm sure he's speaking for a lot of people in the party, and it's certainly an arguable proposition. You can argue that one back and forth as to whether the Prime Minister would be better to leave or to go. There's no doubt he is now a liability for the party more than an asset. But as Chantal and Althea said, it's not like there's a lineup of contenders waiting to take his place who would do any better. But the real question is, supposing you did want to get rid of him, there's really no mechanism to do it. Partly because he owns the party, partly because he saved it when it was nearly on its last legs, and because of the process by which he was elected, which he didn't even have to be a member, he just had to be sort of driving by the precinct when the vote was on. And you could sign up to vote for the leader. So, and the whole premise of that leadership campaign was, let's get rid of the barons. Let's get rid of any of these divisions and hierarchies within the Liberal Party. Well, that's great. When you do that, however, you leave nobody who can call him to account, nobody who can challenge him. It's just basically the Justin Trudeau party. So when you are stuck like this with a leader who's desperately unpopular, you got nowhere to go.
Well, surely caucus could rise up, though, if they were all like
They
done
all moved
with
together.
Yeah, if someone other than Ken spoke up, surely something would happen. Chantal and then Althea.
Well, someone other than Ken did not speak up, obviously.
No, that's right.
Since Ken is not speaking anymore. But also,
I doubt he can speak anymore.
No, that's right.
But a caucus only rises up when it has someone to rise behind.
Yeah, that's right.
Like Paul Martin, etc. There is no one like that.
No.
That's not happening. So I understand the need to find a way to do better. That's what parties do. They try to control what they can. In this case, it's leadership. I don't believe that they can go anywhere with this, even if they had a process.
Althea.
I don't think the lack of process is the problem, to your point and to Chantal's point. The MPs could, if they really wanted to make Justin Trudeau's life miserable, make it miserable. I don't necessarily think that it's that they don't have another Messiah waiting in the wings. I actually think most of them do believe that Justin Trudeau is their best shot at least retaining as many seats as they possibly can in the next election. That is still the feeling within caucus, and until that changes, you will not hear them rise up.
And that may well be true, you know. A la Brian Mulroney in '93, he probably would have lost badly, but he wouldn't have got reduced to 2 seats.
So
we hear that argument too from them.
Yes, we do hear that
When you have to make that argument, it's not a great time.
The Liberals and the Conservatives went for the savior notion when they went for John Turner in '84 and for Kim Campbell, and in both cases, that didn't pan out, even if the polls were great after the leadership vote.
Sure, but are we at the point now where the polls have been so consistently bad that there's no hope of turning things around, or if the economy turns around and inflation is there still some sort of window here for him, or should people just give up that notion altogether? Chantal, yeah.
If you had been writing and having to make a call on the eve of the 2011 election, would you have written that Jack Layton was going to win Quebec? No, because your bosses would have taken you off the air for saying things that made no sense. Same with my bosses.
Yeah. A year before the 2006 election, there was a flourishing dump Harper movement within the Conservatives. A year before the '93 election, there was a flourishing dump Chrétien movement within the Liberals. A lot can change within a year, let alone 18 months. So there's still many innings to play here.
Last word to you, Althea.
Well, I could just add another example. In the lead up to 2015 election, Thomas Mulcair was leading in the polls. So who knows? Anything can happen. It's still a really long time until the next campaign.
Well, I guess they better hope so. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Now let me send things back to Adrienne, and of course she is in Toronto.
Thank you, Rosie. Next, a BC diver caught a once-in-a-lifetime encounter on camera.
To my knowledge, this is the first time that this has ever been captured on camera while scuba diving underwater.
The epic battle of seal versus octopus in our moment. If you think you've seen seal versus octopus before, you're not wrong. These battles have been caught on camera above water. We've shown some of them to you, but now a diver in British Columbia has a whole different view. Maxine Veilleux was scuba diving off the coast of Nanu's Bay when she came across a showdown for the ages. What she saw next is our moment tonight.
This time of year, we have some excellent diving off the island here. So we were swimming pretty quickly, and then a seal just zipped by us. So we got a little bit closer, and it didn't seem bothered by us at all. We realized that it was actually attacking a giant Pacific octopus. Got there right in time to see it all unfold. The seal went up for, to catch its breath. So I guess the octopus thought, okay, this is my time to get away. You can see it in the video. It actually swims right in front of us as the seal comes back down and chases it. And what octopus do is they release some ink to try to evade their predators. But the seal just you can see it kind of swimming through the ink. And unfortunately, it does find the octopus. And then they go through a bit of a battle there. So this is pretty rare and very exciting to watch. Our hearts were beating pretty quickly.
Okay, so I know you're wondering how that ends because the octopus appeared to lose a leg there. It did, but it also was then able to get away, and because they can regenerate them, good chance it will be okay. Interestingly, people are giving her stick, saying, why didn't you intervene? She says that seal was about 300 pounds, would you? From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.